Raise your hand if you play the Pokemon Pocket card game that all my friends play and they try to convince me to play too. Let's see, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I guess there's not many. Okay, now raise your hand if you play Koi Koi. Wow, that's so many of you, and you've all come to the right place. And yeah, no, I'd be surprised if anyone has their hands raised. I recently met with some friends, and they were all playing this Pokemon card game on their phones, and well, they asked me if I played too. Really long conversation short, but I thought if they like card games, they might like to learn about the card game that I play. I think the title of this video can summarize how that conversation went. I saw that there's already a lot of Koi Koi guide videos out there, so I'll cover the very basics of how to play, but I mostly want to talk about share tips on how to be like a more casual player. That way you could beat most people when the game becomes really popular, like back when I was 140 years younger. Hopefully I can make the game fun to understand, but I tend to ramble here and there, so I'll have our editor team put proper sections for maybe the parts that are most helpful to you. Before I go into the card game itself, I want to address one thing about card games in general. I think the fun card games are the ones that do a good job balancing luck and skill. A complaint that I heard a lot when I heard my friends talking about the Pokemon card game is that it has a lot to do with having good luck. In the short Hanafuda video that I made, I think I mentioned that Hanafuda can be very luck-based too. Though I do think that long time ago people were also aware that a game just solely focused on luck can be really unfun to play. From my time listening to them talk about the game and watching them play each other, I think I could understand what the problem was. Matches can end at the second turn, and if your opponent has from Parados, a fossil, and a rare candy at the start of the game, there's really not much you could do to win. From the matches that I watched, it felt like the game is focused more on drawing the correct cards in the moments or starting with a really good hand and less about the decision making. But I feel like that's a lot of card games and not really what makes Hanafuda less luck-based than Pokemon. Koi Koi can be very straightforward too depending on what cards you have in your hand, and sometimes a lucky draw can win you the game. So what makes Koi Koi less about luck? Let's do a little scenario here, but let's say you're walking down the street and you found money on the floor. Would you consider yourself lucky? Alright, so same day and you find money again on the floor. Would you still think that you're lucky? Now if I said a third time you found money, I think some people would get suspicious. Maybe they're being pranked or someone robbed the bank nearby. What I'm cooking here is that people know luck and consistency don't go together. One match decides if you win or lose in Pokemon, and I think that's why people get cooked when they lose in the game. In Koi Koi though, a single match is up to 3, 6, or 12 rounds, and each round you add the points and the winner's decided by whoever has the most points at the end. I don't think people would want to play 12 rounds of the Pokemon game though. I've seen how long those matches can go. At the start of the game, you want to decide who the dealer is, and to do that, both players would draw a card from the top of the deck, and the person who draws the earliest month would go first. Both players would get 8 cards in their hands, and 8 cards face up on the floor. From here, each time it's your turn, you have to put 1 card from your hand down to the floor. The idea is to see which face-up cards on the floor match with the ones you have in your hand. Ideally, you memorize the whole point system, and prioritize the cards with the most synergy and value to the cards in your hand. Even if you don't have a matching card in your hand, you still have to place something down onto the table. So after you take the card from your hand and place it down on the table, you would then take a card from the top of the deck and flip it over and place it down too. In this example, we didn't get a pair with our top deck card flip, but if we did, then we would take the pair and move them to our side. The goal is to get pairs because if you don't, then now they're on the table and they're up for grabs from your opponents. To win a round, you have to gain 1 or more points. The moment you earn any points, you're given the option to end the round or keep going to score more points. To keep going, you would say Koi Koi, and to end, you would say Agari. Knowing when to Agari and Koi Koi, I would say that separates the novice players from the okay players. The general idea is that you only Koi Koi if you know your opponent doesn't have any combinations or way of getting a point in their next turn. Because if you Koi Koi and then your opponent scores, then they're given the same option of Koi Koi and Agari, and if they decide to Agari after they score a point, they would double their points because you were cocky. To summarize, if you Koi Koi and your opponent scores, they get double their score for that round. and you wouldn't get any of your points that you could have gotten. Also, if you koi and you don't score another point and your opponent also doesn't score a point, it would just be a draw and neither side would get a point for that round. Generally, it's good to play it safe and just agari after you score a point, but think about it like this, like Hanafuda or koi, it's not just like one single match and the winner of that is the winner. You can go up to like 12 rounds or 6 or 3 depending on the format you're playing. If you win 4 rounds with a 1-point agari and your opponent, just takes the lead in a single round with a 5-point combination, then you'd be losing the game even if you won the past 4 rounds with 1 point. Sometimes winning a bunch of small victories, it means nothing if your opponent wins like a really big victory. Do you know the saying of like, you may have won the battle but not the war? I think koi is a very good example of that saying. Now that you know how to play, I'm gonna give you a couple general tips for a good strategy. I have a whole bunch I want to talk about, but I feel like we're really pushing editor named Sanity with how long this video's been. I'll limit myself and just talk about my top 3. Tip number 1. Set a goal by looking at the 8 cards in your hand and the 8 cards on the floor. Check to see the cards that you have in your hand and also the cards on the table. We can see that there's one red written ribbon on the table, and we also had 2 of those in our hand. Looking at the hand and then looking at the table, it'd be a really good idea to go for that red ribbon. The first turn in this game is where a lot of the planning comes together, but try not to focus on just your cards, but your opponent too. You can see on the table that there were also 2 blue ribbons. On your opponent's turn, if they take a blue ribbon, it's good to assume that they might be going for a blue ribbon combination. So on their turn, let's say they take this one, and then they flip a card, and they would match with this. Now that it's your turn, we have to make a choice here. We have the pair to take the blue ribbon, but we also have the pair to take the red ribbon. Remember that there are only 4 cards in each month, and we saw on the table that there are 2 February cards, and we have one in our hand. So that means there's only 1 February left in this game. The chances of your opponent having the last February card in their hand is pretty low, so in this case, it might be better to go for the defensive play than the offensive play. Not just that, but even if your opponent has the February card in their hand, you haven't revealed that you're looking for a red ribbon card at any point in this game. I want to say that this is what separates an okay player from a good player. The idea is that even though you have a matching card on the table, you don't take it intentionally. I'll set up an example on the table. In this example, you could see that there's Hanami de Ippai on the table. Then getting both these cards would be a 5-point total. Okay, now we're gonna zoom out so you can see the 8 cards in our hand. You can see that we have 3 cards from September, and with the 4th card being the sake cup on the table, there is absolutely no way that your opponent can take that card. There was also 2 March cards on the table, and we have 2 March cards in our hand, which means that we're guaranteed the Hikari for March. Beginner players would immediately take the March Hikari and the September sake cup to win the round. But the proper way to play this hand is to look for any August cards to appear further into the game because we have the August Hikari in our hand. After all, what's better than a 5-point combination? Like I said earlier, it's not about winning a round, it's about how much you win the round by. The example I gave though is just a really obvious example of holding cards. Once you get really good at the game, there's a lot more complex examples. Every time you or your opponent make a pair and bring it to your side, you can see all the cards played in the round. I like to use the process of elimination to get an idea of what cards might still be in the deck or the opponent's hand. This can be really useful for moments when you have nothing left to pair from your hand with the cards left on the floor. Like, say you're really far into a round and you have maybe like August, March, and April in your hand. You should be looking at both you and your opponent's score table and seeing which cards have already been played. Maybe you notice March hasn't appeared a single time in the entire round. The chance of the next card flip being March would be higher than the other cards in your hand. There's a lot of nuance in doing this because you need to factor avoiding a pair your opponent might be looking for. I only recommend predicting a card flip if you're going to gain a point from it or if you're in a bad situation. I have a lot more tips I want to share, but I think by now I put everyone to sleep. But I hope viewers don't mind if I make videos for other things I like here and there. Our channel's editor team sent me a message that he met 2 viewers from this channel in like a anime convention. They even took a picture and sent it to me, but they had like a Hanafuda deck in their hand, which is kind of a crazy coincidence because this channel is so small and Hanafuda isn't popular at all. I hope he told him to stop cutting parts from the video that people want to see. I'm really excited for the Hololive Hanafuda game to come out. Our editor already mentioned that I could play the viewers in this game. I'm hoping this video helps everyone level up, but if that game has any prize or like ranking, I want Yeotori video like viewers to be #1. I'll make more Hanafuda videos in the future and share more tips, but I guess for now this video is already really long, so no more koi koi. Yeotori입니다. 아가리.